and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And this is Mark Florence.
And today we're talking about Scream 2. This movie came out in 1997. Do you remember seeing it in the theater? You were probably too young.
I probably saw it in the theater. I mean, I saw the first one in the theater, I think.
Well, then never mind. I mean, I guess you weren't too young. What am I thinking? 1997. You would have been, what?
14 or 15?
Yeah, I think you probably could have seen it. It's got an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was surprised by that because a lot of times sequels aren't ranked highly. But you know what I think helped this one? It was still directed by Wes Craven, and it was still written by Kevin Williamson, who did the first movie. So how can you go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, they did good on the first one, and give them another chance at it.
I love all of this. I mean, it's just like the first movie. All of this meta jokes, like, you know, being self-aware and making fun of the horror genre, but at the same time, you know, being scary. The movie within the movie is called Stab. And, you know, now they've made a movie based on the occurrences that happened in Scream. It's so self-aware. It's hilarious. And I just love that Jada Pinkett Smith, she hates scary movies right away in the beginning. She's complaining about the $7.50 ticket price, that's a steal nowadays. And this movie premiere for Stab is it's insane.
Yeah, everyone's dressed up like the Ghostface, and they all have knives. Have you ever been to a premiere that was kind of like that?
You know, the craziest premiere that I've ever been to was Star Wars Episode 1. There was so much anticipation because it was the first, you know, new Star Wars movie in decades. And there were so many people dressed up, and people were just screaming and running around doing lightsaber battles. There was a really drunk guy who got, you know, everybody to chant, you know, and was riling up the crowd. But guess what? He got too drunk too early, and he ended up getting kicked out, and he didn't even get to see the movie.
Man, I hate when that happens, but you need a guy like that to pump up the crowd. So he took one for the team there, and I'm sure he eventually saw the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. So how about you? Have you been to a wild premiere?
I don't think so. I'm not a premiere kind of person, I guess, but so I guess not.
You know, I think the wildest one that you've been to with me was Attack of the Clones, so the next Star Wars movie, and that wasn't even that wild, but you know, there were people dressed up and things.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, we went to the North Country premiere like in Hollywood, but that wasn't really like that.
Humble brag.
Yeah, and then so they're watching the premiere, and Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps are the two actors, and Jada Pinkett Smith's character is complaining about the social issues in the movie, just like you always do.
Oh boy. So yeah, I'm a lot of fun to go to movies with. I'm like, has a woman spoken yet in this movie? I can be obnoxious, and I'm sorry. But sometimes, you know, you have to be thinking about these things, because it's like, it's 2019. No, guess what? It's 2020 now. Like, what else are we going to do about it?
Well, sometimes you got to be like, let's just enjoy the movie.
I really love that this whole entire opening sequence, it has this perfect plan and this perfect place to actually kill somebody, because it's this crowded, loud movie theater. Everyone is imitating the stabbing motion. And if somebody was pretending to get stabbed or actually stabbing someone, you wouldn't probably know the difference. Like, it's actually a really smart place to kill somebody.
That was an awesome scene. Everyone's just running around, stabbing each other. And even after she gets stabbed, I don't think people realize it's real until she gets up on the stage. She's bleeding. I think she collapses or something. And then when Omar Epps gets killed, that's cool too. I think he's in the stall and he gets stabbed through the wall of the stall. I can't remember how the killer gets his head over there, but
well, he's making it's some sort of noise, or like they're whispering or something, so he goes to listen. But I hate the Scary Movie franchise for like ruining a lot of like legitimate horror scenes for me, because all I can think about is like that scene in Scary Movie, and it's like something inappropriate.
It's scary. I think I know what you're talking about. Is it What was that again?
I mean, isn't it like it's some sort of glory hole or something?
I think, yeah, and like some kind of phallus comes through his ear or something.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know.
No, but Scary Movie does a great parody of this scene. Like the whole way through, it's just I love Scary Movie.
Caller ID. You know, now we're revisiting Sydney, and guess what? It's she's got caller ID now, and it's gonna end prank phone calls, not just for her, but for all of us teenagers who are making prank phone calls around this time.
Nev Campbell just leveraging technology to call out the prankers. It's just great. A couple notable people in this movie. We got Joshua Jackson again. He was in...
Was it Urban Legend?
He was also in Urban Legend. We got Sarah Michelle Gellar. I forgot she was in it. What was her role again? Was she just at the college? Or?
Yeah, and of course, you know, she was in, Buffy, but also I Know What You Did Last Summer. And one of my favorite actors from Deadwood, Timothy Olyphant, is in this movie. And spoiler alert, he's the bad guy, along with his mother. Kind of like a Norman Bates type deal, except, you know, he didn't kill his mother. So what a fun cast.
Yeah, and then we also had Portia de Rossi as one of the sorority girls, I think. Mm-hmm. We had, I think Sarah Michelle Gellar was in the house by herself, right?
Yep.
We had Rebecca Gayheart again, the Noxzema girl. We had the guy from Above the Rim. I used to love that movie, the basketball movie. He was the cameraman. I think his name's Kyle something. So he was good.
Wow, yeah. There's a lot of random people that I had no memory of this. I mean, I haven't rewatched this movie in a really long time, and it pleasantly surprised me. They're taking a film class, of course, because they're in college now, and what else do you do besides take film courses? But they're making fun of sequels in the movie, and it's like talking about what sequels can possibly be better than the original or the first movie. And it's so self-aware, of course, because they are in a sequel, but it's also like, it's so obnoxious because I have taken film courses and everybody just thinks that they know everything about movies, which is fine. But, you know, there's some of those obnoxious people.
I think it's the Jamie Kennedy character who eventually gets killed halfway through the movie, but he's the big guy on about the rules of a scary movie. Mm-hmm. And I think it's cool when they bring those up because then you think back to all the other movies you've seen and you're like, you know what, he's right. So until he gets killed.
Courtney Cox and David Arquette, they were together at this point, and they, in real life, are they together in the movie at this point, or what's going on? I can't remember now about their relationship status.
They're like halfway together. They kind of have this like unspoken like sexual tension between them, but they really don't act on it. It seems like
it's so random.
I love when Dewey's got his certain theme song. Like every time he appears, they play this like weird like I don't know. It's like a weird like mellow song.
Yes, he's got a theme song. It's so funny because he's so goofy, and it's just silly.
And in the Scary Movie, he was doofy. He was really funny.
And of course, this is also a spoiler alert. But he's sort of like the Kaiser Solseg character from Unusual or Usual Suspects, and the whole time he's pretending, not to be so smart, but really he's the mastermind. So, Scary Movie. I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah, it's super funny, but then when you watch this movie or the first Scream, it really makes you like almost forget which movie you're watching because they're so similar.
Exactly. So that's why I kind of hate it because it's ruined some stuff for me. But I can take a step back and analyze it without thinking about it.
And then Sarah Michelle Gellar was on the phone talking to her friend, talking about Party of Five. So that's another self-aware moment.
Did you ever watch that movie? I think they're having a reboot of that show. Have you been seeing those commercials?
I did not ever watch that show, and if they reboot it, I will not watch it.
Oh, Mark. You're so cruel. Yeah, there's so many self-aware things. I mean, just like when we talked about Urban Legend several weeks ago now too, that also was winking at every show that all of those people were in. So it's pretty interesting how they can do that, yet it doesn't get to the point of like scary movie level.
Exactly. Another technology-based thing. So they've moved on to the cordless phone now in this movie. It might have been in the previous one too, but so Sarah Michelle Gellar is at this big sorority alone, and she's on a cordless phone, and the guy's talking to her, and she's trying to get out of the house, but then her cordless phone signal goes dead, so that forces her to go back into the house. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yes, back when we had to stay close to the receiver or whatever. And there was a cordless phone in the first movie. Remember, Drew Barrymore was on it, but it's interesting to see like how technology has advanced. And now, you know, our greatest thing is like our cell phone battery is going dead, or you know, we're out of range or something.
So they redid the opening scene from the first one. It was the opening scene of the Stab movie. Who played that character? Do you remember?
I can't remember her name. Is it Jamie something? But she was on. Wasn't she on that show? My Name Is Earl. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I thought it was somebody else. I'm sorry.
We're old people. Maybe you should look it up so that we don't spread false rumors. You know, there's this layered thing on within the movie. Neve Campbell's character, she is, I don't know if she's an acting major, but she's in a play, and she, for some reason, she's a freshman and she gets the lead in this play. But it's Cassandra, and it's about it's Greek mythology, and it's all about a woman who's speaking truth, but she's not believed. And so I thought that was a nice like layered look at how women are believed just in society, but then especially in her situation about what's happening, and you know, that she's being stalked, and of course there's like all of these masked people in the movie because it's this Greek, you know, ancient Greek tragedy. So there were just so many layers that I thought were really clever in the writing. Did you discover who that was?
Yes, it was Heather Graham.
Oh, that was Heather Graham. For some reason I was thinking it was I don't know who I thought it was, but anyway, Heather Graham, of course, was in Twin Peaks. If you remember that character, it's Annie. Speaking of Neve Campbell, we were looking up what she's done lately, and apparently she was in 26 episodes of House of Cards, another show that we haven't caught up on. So she, you know, that's pretty recent. I didn't watch that, but I haven't seen her in anything else recently.
Had to stop watching after all the Kevin Spacey stuff came out. I mean, I'm a moral man. I can't support that.
But you know, they killed him off or something, and then Robin became what is her not Penn isn't her last name. What's her last name? Robin Wright. She became president, I think. So, spoiler alert. But anyway.
And I think we just lost traction on the show even before all that went down anyway. So I was just joking that, I mean, it's one of the reasons I stopped watching, but not the only reason.
True.
So they're in Ohio. I noticed that just randomly.
Well, Wes Craven, you know, set stuff in Ohio because, I mean, I don't know if he was from there. I think he was, actually. And Nightmare on Elm Street's set in Ohio as well.
Didn't know that. It's kind of like the Stephen King Maine thing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And M. Night Shyamalan in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. It is kind of cool how directors tend to, or writers always tend to set stuff in the same place. It's kind of like their style or whatever.
I appreciate it. And then also, you know, they know a lot about the place. That's why I love when Joel and Ethan Coen do stuff about Minnesota or Diablo Cody. Like, we've got some legit people, and seeing those things, those idiosyncrasies come to life on screen or on television is just, it's so much fun to watch.
Definitely. Now, I wrote down, I think I love you scene. Is that the scene where Jerry O'Connell like gets up on the tables in the cafeteria and he's singing to Nev Campbell?
Yes, and he's like this red herring because you kind of think like, oh, he must be the bad guy. Oh, but my goodness, it's so cheesy. It reminds me of that scene in Top Gun. Do you remember Tom Cruise sings to Kelly McGillis? Isn't it the "You've lost that love and feeling"? I remember it was like my first dance in junior high, and some high school boy sang that to a high school girl at the dance, and it was like, a moment of, I wonder if a boy will ever do that for me, but no one ever has.
Still working on it, still waiting for the right time. But I think you said during the movie that he basically got that role because he nailed that part, and like in the audition, like they had the actors do that scene.
Yes, and so I thought that was pretty interesting that apparently Jerry O'Connell was the best at that. So good for you, guy.
Yeah. And then I wrote down Tori Spelling and Luke Wilson. Were they in this?
Apparently, yeah. I don't even know. I mean, there were so many people.
Or did they just talk about them? They must have been in it, right?
I don't know. We watched this so long ago. This is the problem.
And then Jennifer Aniston's body on Gail's head? What does that mean?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you saying because like she had the haircut? Or was there some there must have been some sort of like Jennifer Aniston joke because they were on Friends together. I don't know what that note means, but that's really confusing. I love that Liev Schreiber, his character, Cotton, is still around. He goes on Diane Sawyer for just $10,000, and he starts a 900 number to make money. What is his 900 number about?
I think you can just call in and ask like questions about like prison or like what happened to him or something. I don't know. I wouldn't call that number.
No, me neither. But also $10,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money. I think he could have held out for more.
Doesn't he want? But he needs Sydney to go on there with him to do that. So he's trying to get her to do that, but she doesn't want to, and he's like all pissed about it.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, so weird.
And he's just like lurking in the library, like while they're looking for the killer. Like these must be crappy cops because they're looking, and she's like in the back on the stairway talking to this guy who just got out of prison for like killing her mom or something.
But remember, he was innocent.
I know, but still, I mean, come on, cops, get with it.
So they have this entire time, like we keep wondering who the killer is and who's stalking Sydney again. And of course, it turns out that it's Timothy Olyphant's mother and he, like they're in it together, right?
I didn't realize that was his mom, Timothy Olyphant's mom.
Yeah, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Oh.
It's Billy Loomis's mom.
So who's Billy Loomis?
I believe he was the killer from the first movie.
Oh boy. I'm so confused. I don't even know. Like I've got all of this plot wrong. Don't listen to me, people.
And I think she recruited Timothy Olyphant to help her because they were going to go on. He was going to have his defense be that like movies taught him to kill.
Yes.
And wasn't that a theme in another movie we just saw too? I feel like.
Yes, and it's not real, people. So yeah.
Oh no, you didn't watch it with me, but it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They were gonna kill Leonardo DiCaprio's character at the end because they thought movies taught them to kill, so they would kill the guy that was in the movie.
Yeah, not great. There's this big end sequence when we're finding out all this stuff happening in the theater, with these theater props and the Greek tragedy again. I think they use like the theater rocks from the scene to like, smash somebody or something. But they wouldn't weigh that much. Like you wouldn't actually have like a really heavy rock on stage. You would all be made of like paper mache or something. So, It was kind of fake, but it was good for the plot.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. They were using all these things that were on the set. Like, do you think they really used real knives and stuff? So I thought that was funny. I thought a cool scene was, I think they're riding with the cops. They're in the backseat of a cop car, and somehow the car crashes, and they're kind of... No, the Ghostface guy must have been driving. I don't know how it all went down, but he was in the front seat, like, passed out, and the only way they could get out of the car was to climb over into the front seat and climb over him. So I thought that was, like, put you on the edge of your seat. Like, you have to get out of this car past the guy who's, like, dead or, like, passed out in the front seat.
Yeah, no, that was a really good shot scene, and just trying not to move too much, make too much noise, and the anticipation was good.
And then, you know, she really wants to take his mask off, but then she really just wants to get out. And then when she decides she wants to go back to remove the mask and see who it is, the person's gone. So, and then
typical.
Yeah, and then somehow got around them and killed her friend who was waiting, like, 30 feet away. So that was pretty interesting. One thing I noticed at the end credits, I believe, was that Harvey Weinstein was a producer. So that kind of made me ashamed to watch the movie.
There's he produced so many great movies. And, of course, his legacy is that now he's walking into court with a walker to gain some sympathy, which isn't working for me. But it's interesting that, like, a year ago or whenever everything went down, there was this movie that was supposed to come out with Benedict Cumberbatch and Michael Shannon, The Current War. And they actually postponed the release of it because of the Harvey Weinstein stuff, and he was a producer. So it is going to come out now, but... it's just had a ripple effect.
Yeah, you got to give, like, a cooling off period. Like, if it had come out right then, people would have probably boycotted it. But maybe it's been long enough now that people would go see it. I don't know. Or
they'll probably take his name off of producer credits and, they worked around it legally or something, because I can't imagine that anyone's going to attach his name to anything anymore.
I agree. Yeah, I mean... just distance yourself from that guy.
So, Scream 2, any final thoughts?
I just thought it was overall solid. Watching it again, a lot of iconic scenes, like the one at the end. I like the one where I think they're in one of the recording studios and Dewey's in the other room, like, pounding on the glass, but she can't see him or hear him or something, and the killer's in there, so that's pretty cool.
I was pleasantly surprised by this rewatch. I didn't remember that it was as solid as it was, and I guess part of it what goes back to that film class scene of sometimes sequels aren't as good as the original, but yeah, I think it held up. Well, let's rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being you think it's a perfect movie. What should our scale be? Scream 2. The only thing I'm thinking of is those fake rocks, because we just talked about it. But is there something more iconic from this movie? Something dealing with Dewey?
I'll just go with the Dewey theme songs. I don't know.
Yes, Dewey theme songs. So how many Dewey theme songs do you give this movie, Scream 2?
I'll give it 7 Dewey theme songs. I do like the Dewey character and, like, the dynamic of him. A lot of good actors in this movie. They introduce a lot of different characters to keep you guessing. Just overall solid, not like earth-shattering or whatever, but I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it 8 Dewey theme songs. I wish that we had recorded this closer to the time we had actually watched it, so I could remember more of those little details. But from what I remember and how I came away from it feeling, I think it held up. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven, again, converging and not taking themselves so seriously that they can't have those little winks to the audience and make fun of themselves. but at the same time, keep it solid and horror. So we recently watched something on Netflix, a documentary, and that we want to recommend. It's Don't F with Cats. And we're not going to give away any spoilers because I want you to go out and watch it if you haven't yet. But it's, I think the subtitle is, or the description is, Hunting an Internet Killer. And I want to recommend it, but a trigger warning that there's some animal harm and death. They don't show it, but it's of course implied, and it's not happening on screen, but I think you can hear some things. And that I am the biggest animal lover, and I will like shut off a movie if I can't, if something's happening even fictionally to an animal. Yet I was able to push through this and watch it. So I think that says a lot, that how they handled it. They show just enough so that you can get the gravity of the situation, but they don't show so much that, I had to turn it off.
Yeah, I 100% recommend this. It's only 3 episodes, so it's like 3 hours long, which is about perfect. Like a lot of these true crime documentaries go like 5-6 episodes and they're just too long. But this one kept my interest the whole time. I like the fact that at least I didn't even know anything about the story, like going into it. Like I feel like those are the best. And I don't know how popular the story was back in 2011 or something, or 12. Just very intriguing, very interesting. Yeah, there is the animal side of it, but I think they handle it very well, like Kelly said, and I think a lot of people who are interested in horror movies or like true crime kind of stuff will really, really enjoy this.
So it's interesting. This is all tying in, of course, to the original Scream, which was based on true crime that happened in Gainesville. And so it's all related, and it's all coming back. We've been watching a lot of true crime documentaries lately. And another one we recommend is The Confession Killer. We also watched the Amanda Knox documentary, which I know that one is older, but we finally got around to watching it. So those are the 2 I recommend. Any others that you recommend?
Well, I just want to say another thing about Don't F Word with Cats. Another theme that's in this movie too, or in Scream 2 and the documentary, is using movies as like a basis for doing things. Or like relating your life to movies. So
good point. Yes, it all comes back around. It's all related. So we want to hear your recommendations for things to watch, whether it be fiction movies, nonfiction, documentaries, because we're always looking for recommendations, and it's so much better to go in to something knowing that someone recommends it than, just out there like literally surfing through Netflix for an hour and a half trying to find something to watch. So we've been getting our recommendations lately from Twitter, and that's helped a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I usually just go through Twitter, and if I see a few different people talking about something, I'll usually go check it out. So it's a good place to go out to Twitter, follow people with similar interests, and go from there.
Yes, so add us and tell us what you recommend. We really are always looking for something new to watch. So until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.